What do you do when none of your ads are attracting coaching clients? In this video, we're going to talk about what we do. So my name is Jason Nyback. I spend about $1 million a year on Facebook ads to get coaching clients. And then we turn around, we teach what we learn to our clients who want to learn how to get coaching clients using ads, Facebook ads. Now, let's talk about it. What do we do when none of our ads are getting coaching clients? One of the biggest problems coaches have is they run ads and they're not getting clients. They don't know what to do. Like, should I quit? Should I keep going? Should I spend more money? Should I just go back to posting content on my Facebook page? Should I get a Facebook group? Like, what do I do? This sucks, right? So let's talk about this. I've got some notes here and we're going to talk and walk through it. So there's 3 things to think about, okay? Now, the first thing is everything within the KPIs. Now, what do the KPIs mean? Okay, key performance indicators. So in other videos, I do talk about this, but you've got to understand that each segment of your system has to be within the KPIs. So let's get into that. What that means is, so primary 3 overarching ones with like 3 ones with a 4th that kind of goes around it. The first one we look at, and again, this is all what we look at. You can do whatever you want with it, okay? Number 1 is our registration rate 10%, meaning are people hitting our page from the ads and registering at a rate of 10% or higher? It's number 1. Number 2, of the people who are registering, so let's say 10 people hit the page, or let's do this. Let's say 100 people hit the page, 100 people hit our webinar registration page from the ads. 10 registered at minimum. And of those, we'd want at least 1 call, okay? 1 booked call, okay? Now, so that's KPI number 2, 10% book a call. So that's what we want to see. Of the booked calls, we want to see about 25% to a third buy, okay? So those are the things, and it's pretty hard to like figure it out if like, okay, well, 1 person books a call and but at bigger numbers, right? Let's say you get 3 calls, did 1 buy. But again, you want some statistical accuracy. So you can't just go, well, I got 10 webinar registrations, then I got 1 call booked and nobody bought, so my market sucks, right? So the biggest thing you need to understand, first of all, how are your KPIs, right? Like, do you know what they are? Because if you're just kind of running ads and sort of like, well, looks good, I'm getting lots of likes on my ad, I'm getting some webinar registrations, I did get a call, so like eventually this should work out. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work like that. You can't do that. You have to have all of these key performance indicators got to line up, okay? So you can track them and then do what I'm going to talk about next. The overarching KPI we like to look at is what is the return on ad spend, okay? So let's say you're not quite there, that all these KPIs are not quite where they should be, but for every dollar you're spending, you're getting like 3 or 4 back, right? Let's say you spent $1,000 on ads and you made $4,000, okay? So that's a 4 times our ROAS, return on ad spend, right? So we look at that too and go, okay, what are the metrics looking like individually, and what is the overarching return on ad spend? Okay, that's at a bigger number. Like again, you spend $1,000, you make 4, that's great, but we want to see, if you push that up to 3,000, does it translate into 12,000? You see what I'm saying? And that all depends on pricing, okay? Because if you spend $1,000 on ads and your cost per coaching program is $4,000, that's a 4x ROI. But if you spend $1,000 and your coaching program is $1,500, that's a 1.5 times ROI. So it's very important to understand that higher prices is one of the best ways to increase your return on ad spend, which is obvious, right? But it's you got to think about that, okay? So those are the 4 things we look at. Now, the second thing we want to do, because again, what do we do when our ads are not attracting coaching clients when they're not attracting, okay? Okay, so that's the first thing we look at, those KPIs. Now let's say it's not all there. It's not good. These KPIs are not working. So what is the second thing we need to do? There's three things that we do. We isolate and test, okay? This is very important, okay? Rarely is it that nothing is going to work, okay? Especially if there's other people making money in your niche. If you're in a coaching space where there's all kinds of ads being run and all kinds of people in the market, well, that's a good thing because it means there's money being spent. So if there's money being spent, there's a more likelihood than not that people are buying the coaching. So it's a good sign. So don't see competition as a bad sign. See it as a good thing that it's validated your coaching market, okay? Now, let's talk about this isolate and test. That's number 2. You gotta remember, it's never that everything is wrecked, nothing is good, chuck the whole thing out and start over, all right? It's usually one of the KPIs are out of whack and they're not working. So we wanna figure out which is the worst one, isolate that, and then optimize and test it to make it better. So let's hypothetically say for this example that the webinar registration rate is 4%. That's not good, right? So what do we do? How do we fix that? We're gonna isolate it, okay? We're gonna go, all right, well, first things first, what's going on here? So in that situation, how would we get a webinar registration rate from 4% to say 10 or 12%? Well, what we would do, the first thing that we do is we're gonna look at the ad copy. The webinar registration page. Is it good? Maybe people just don't like it. And we're going to test a bunch of headlines. We're going to test 4 or 5 different versions of it, see if that catches. And if that doesn't catch, then we're going to go to the ad and go, is there a mismatch on the ad? Like, does the ad say one thing, but the registration page sort of isn't, that type of thing. And so then the third thing we're going to do is we're going to then look at the audience and go, is this the right audience? Do we need to tweak the audience? Like, what do we do, right? And so we're going to isolate and test, refine. Okay, so we isolated that one thing and get those KPIs back where they should be, right? And then, okay, now second thing, what about the webinar? Is the webinar within KPI? If not, what are we going to do, right? We're going to isolate that, okay? And because there's no point in moving down the line until the first thing's fixed. If the registration rate's not good, like if your registration rate's 5%, it doesn't matter how amazing the webinar, how amazing the webinar is and converting and how great your conversion rate is on the calls. Like, it's pretty hard to scale if your webinar registration rate's like 4%, right? So we got to fix that, then fix the next thing, and then fix the next thing, and then we just optimize the webinar, then optimize the call. So it's very important that we isolate and test. We only like to test one function at a time, okay? If this case you have 3 different things, we don't want to test everything all at once, because if we start testing, there's a chance the KPIs could drop, okay? Because maybe you test a headline that doesn't work, right? Or something. So what we want to do is we just want to isolate one thing, get that thing working, leave it, move to the next thing, get that thing working, and then leave it and move to the third part and get that working better. That way, if we test some registration pages and it doesn't work, the other stuff's okay. So that's what we do. Now, what do we do? Number 3, there's 3 things that we do. Before we get to that, make sure you like this video so we can know you like it and get more out like it, similar to it, and subscribe so we can get you, again, notify you when we have more videos. All right, so the third thing we need to do, what do we do when none of our ads are attracting coaching clients? This is what we do. We want to make sure we have the right funnel, okay? Now, I have other videos on this, that you can look up. But the problem is your KPIs could be great, but you just have the wrong funnel, okay? So with that, what we want to do is the right funnel. What does that look like? Well, the right funnel is we use a webinar funnel. Now, why? Well, what is the number one most important metric we want? There's one metric that is most important, right? which is the quality of the call, okay? Because if you just get a 25% webinar registration rate and you get 25% of people booking calls, they're all garbage, well, that doesn't do any good, right? So the quality of that call is the most important thing. And so what we do is we take people from a Facebook ad to an automated webinar, and then once they go through that, then they can book a call. We have found that that's the absolute best way to fix this problem because it's not, like I said, it's not that none of your ads are not attracting coaching clients in the sense that nothing works. It's always, there's one or two things that need tweaking, and many times that one thing is the wrong funnel. Now, what do most coaches do? They go to lead magnets, okay? They will take they'll get really high, they'll get cheap leads, cheap email addresses, and they'll take people to a video sales letter that's 6 minutes long. They can book a call right under that. And what do people do? They're like, oh, I don't have time to watch this video. I'll just book a call. And then they no-show, like there's no relationship built. It's just a terrible way to get garbage calls, low show-up rates, people who haven't engaged in any of your stuff. They don't know who you are. Or lead magnets. What a lot of people do is they'll send people from an ad to a registration page and then send them an ebook or something like that, or a PDF, some sort of downloadable report, or a video or something like that. And the engagement rate is horrific. Okay, absolutely horrific. Our automated webinars, I just looked recently, and the last about 20,000 people who have watched it, about 71% have shown up. Okay. Good luck getting a 71% engagement rate on your ebook or your video sales letter or your downloadable free report. Doesn't good luck with that, right? So that's why we do that. All right. So remember, KPIs have to be in check, key performance indicators, all of them. Number two, when it's not, we isolate and test. Number three, we want to make sure we have the right funnel. So that way, this gives us the best chance to get our ads working. All right, hope you liked this video. Stick around for the next one. Click the like button and subscribe so we can get you more of them. Take care.